and I am a graphic designer. And Pixelette, as I've said, millions of times, is a graphic design channel that is channeled, tautology. I don't really care, do I know? So Pixelette is a channel that's for you as a graphic designer, helps you to meet all your goals, all your dreams as a graphic designer with the content I'm going to be producing every single week. So today we're going to be looking at, something very important and very interesting. Now, when people talk about graphic design, what basically comes to mind is maybe Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign, and I totally understand that because those are like the professional standard for software and tools when it comes to graphic design and working. But then, as I've already defined in my earlier videos, graphic design is all about communication. You're using design principles and visual elements to communicate, so it's way beyond just making things look beautiful. So when it comes to tools to use as a graphic designer, it's very important that you know the right tool to use, because knowing the right tool to use would help make your work easier. It will ensure you give the optimum output to your client. It helps you be more flexible and all that stuff. And also when I was reading, because I sort of like read through materials online and I use them for my videos. I know they're copyrighted, so I'm not like saying I own these materials. I think these are free resources that everyone can gain access to. So when I was reading down this blog post, I saw it as a place that they talked about the fact that graphic design is equal to Photoshop, and I want to strongly disagree with that. I do not in any way agree that graphic design is Photoshop. I think Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, these are all just tools to help every graphic designer out there to bring out the best and do their work better. A few days ago I was talking to one of my students in my graphic design arrangement, and we were all talking about the tools to use, and I said something that as a graphic designer, what matters most is the fact that you can use any tool that you have at your disposal. Even though I understand that some tools are better than others, as a graphic designer you should be able to use the tools at your disposal to create something to work. So this means that I understand that you should have the best of tools and other stuff, but then I think if you're a guru, if you're good, you should be able to use any tool at your disposal, be it Canva, because I used Canva for a while, be it Pixel Lab on your phone, really that's involved also. You should be able to use it up, use that for the best. So when it comes to working as a graphic designer, we have a lot of tools out there, we have a lot of softwares out there, but then when it comes to company or professional standard, I think Adobe softwares are like the best bet, because when you even when you apply for jobs, they tell you proficiency in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro, blah 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 blah, and all the stuff. So I think you should get a hang of the softwares. So today we're going to be looking at 3: Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. We're going to be looking at what they do. This is basically theoretical, we're not practicing yet, so we're going to be looking at what they do, and yes, why you should use each for what kind of job they want to do. Now, when we talk about graphic design jobs, we would say we like to categorize them in 3 aspects basically: print or digital. That's like a print project will be physically printed on some sort of media, like business cards, flyers, t-shirts, packaging, stickers, and yes, digital projects will also be viewed on a screen. And then when we talk about just can be enlarged or shrunk down to any size, while a raster project is an image built out of a set of pixels that will change in quality when resized. So when you pick any software or pick any app, as it's revealed on my screen, we have Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. For Photoshop, it's a raster image editor. What this basically means is, for Photoshop, any work you do in Photoshop, when you sort of like enlarge it, it tends to become blurry, and that you might not really like that, but then that's what happens. But then for Photoshop, you work on photos, artwork, web graphics, and mockups. Then Illustrator is a vector graphics editor, meaning that it, no matter how you resize it or you make it bigger, the quality is still retained, but I'll explain that when we go further. So we have logos, mascot, icons, one-page documents. But then for InDesign, when you want to go big, when you want to like design a lot of like work, publications, desktop, it's a desktop publisher, so for multi-page documents, and so you use InDesign. So why should you use Photoshop? Now, what is Photoshop good for, really? So this one is pretty easy. It's good for photos. So when the software was originally designed, it was designed as a comprehensive solution for creating and editing and retouching any type of raster image. And then since then, Photoshop has evolved, a full slate of tools that allow users to do much more. So fine artists use it to draw, sketch, and even print digitally. Then photographers use it to adjust and transform their photos with color and lighting. Production designers use it to create web-ready digital images. So when most people think graphic design, they think Photoshop, and this article said yes, but I say no because I don't agree. Photoshop is a powerful tool, yeah, I agree with that, but then Photoshop is not graphic design. Photoshop is just a tool for graphic design. So when should you use Photoshop? You use Photoshop when you want to retouch photos, when you need to correct a photo or tame a flyaway hair. Use Photoshop to edit artwork for digital or print. So this could be photo painting, drawing, or anything else. So Photoshop is the right tool to make sure every line, shadow, texture is in place. Then do you want digital images for the web, like social media images, banner arts, email headers, videos? Creating these images in Photoshop will ensure they are right size and optimized for the web. And then you have to create a website or app mockup. Photoshop can also be used. And then you want to get fancy animation and videos, you can also use Photoshop. But let's just pause there. We've praised Photoshop a lot and enough. So you should use a different software or an app when you want to create a logo. And this is why. Because many times when you're making logos, you need to resize them, and then Photoshop isn't optimized to create vector artwork. So unless you want to stumble through a bunch of challenges, workarounds, your image will exist only in one size. So when you work on Photoshop, your images get pixelated. And what does that mean? In a very simple term, pixelated means that when you're working and you make it bigger, it becomes blurry, and I don't think you really want that now, do you? So make sure you use a different app like Illustrator and InDesign for that. And then when you need to work with a lot of text, Photoshop isn't best at handling large amounts of text as well. So headlines and short lines of copy for images like banner ads and social media graphics are fine. But if you're dealing with paragraphs of text, please do try Illustrator or InDesign. So let's move on to Illustrator. So Illustrator is Adobe's magic vector image, and Illustrator will look identical on a business card or a box strap, and it makes a logo. It makes Adobe Illustrator a logo's best friend. So it means that when you want to create a logo, Adobe Illustrator is your best bet and not Photoshop. But I'm not saying you can't use Photoshop. I'm just telling you that if you create your logo on Photoshop and you want to make it a different size, it becomes pixelated, because Photoshop is a raster based software or application. Okay, let's go on. So when do you need to use Adobe Illustrator? So you need to use Adobe Illustrator when you need to create a logo, an icon, a brand mascot. You can use Adobe Illustrator. Yeah. And then so every vector, shape, line created in Illustrator can be blown up to any size at all. So when it comes, when you want to make your image big or small and want to make sure that the quality is retained, use Illustrator. I feel like forming a song for Illustrator. Use Illustrator. Okay, so when you want a one-page print piece, Illustrator is perfect for posters, for business cards, flyers, note cards. The app's powerful vector tools to create visually punchy headlines that can be combined with other raster images. Now when you need to set type for a logo, so Illustrator's typesetting features are incredibly powerful, enabling any text to be transformed into fully editable shapes that can be stretched, scaled, and transformed any way imaginable. So you're looking for a perfect logo type, you need to start here. However, when you need to edit images, you have to go Photoshop. You have to go the Photoshop way, because Photoshop can make more comprehensive adjustments like color, contrast, and brightness. And when you need to create multi-page documents, Illustrator can handle one pages like a charm, but for something or anything more, InDesign is the best way to go, because features like page numbering, master page templates, and better text layout functionalities exist therein. So let's move on to Adobe InDesign. So Adobe InDesign was developed for desktop publishing market, and it's primarily used to lay out newspapers, magazines, books, posters, and flyers. So pretty much anything with lot text should go straight into InDesign. Now we see a picture on the screen about the interface of Adobe InDesign. So you see it. So in the second layer right here, we see a lot of text. And yes, so let's go on. Scrap down. Okay, now it's very important to note here that Illustrator can lay out text too, but InDesign kicks it up a notch and then some more. So InDesign allows you to set up master page templates, so page designs are instantly unified throughout the entire document. I think that's pretty beautiful. It just makes your work easier. Then pages are numbered automatically and then they can be easily reordered, duplicated, and swapped. And text styles, columns, margins, and other features specific to publishing are also much more robust. So simply put, if it's got text, InDesign can handle it. So InDesign was built with very specific uses in mind, and I think all of the softwares, all of the apps were also built in that same way, very specific uses in mind. So you use Adobe InDesign when you need to lay out a multi-text, like heavy text piece. That's when you use it. But then when you want to do smaller jobs like business cards and flyers, Adobe Illustrator can work just as well. When you need to edit images, obviously InDesign has little to no imaging editing capacities or abilities, so Photoshop can make more comprehensive adjustments like color, contrast, and brightness. And then when you need to design a logo, InDesign can create limited shapes, but if you need a logo for a document, design it first in Illustrator and then import it. But then the bottom line is this, that Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, these apps can work all together seamlessly to create designs that blow everyone away. So once you have a project and you have a lot of work to do, you need to first sit down and decide what would work for what and what should be used for what. Do you have photos to edit? Do you have logos to make? Do you have a lot of text-based projects to do? You should know which one to use. So thank you very much for watching and listening to my video. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe and share with friends and family. Bye bye.